Hi, good afternoon and welcome to Cooking Uncovered. Here in North Vancouver, it's a beautiful spring afternoon and the sun is out, and I've got some more fresh rhubarb, and I want to try a nice cake this afternoon. I was talking very early this morning to a girlfriend down in Eastern Canada, Kath, who I was at Royal Roads with, and she was talking about rhubarb. I said, you've given me a great idea. I'm going to make a cake with rhubarb, because we've got so much rhubarb. So let's get started. So before I start, I just want about 1.5 cups of diced rhubarb. So I've taken this beautiful rhubarb, of course I've washed it all up, and I'm just going to cut it in half because these chunks are actually quite big. And then to that, I want to add half of my sugar. So about 1.5 cups of rhubarb should be good. There we go. So put that in a bowl. And to that, you want to add half of the amount of sugar you need for this cake. So, 1.5 cups, and the cake asks for 1 cup of sugar, so you're going to add half a cup of sugar to the rhubarb. And let's just stir that up, and we're going to let that sit while we work on our cake. So I'm going to just add all that sugar, so it ends up looking like this, right? It's all sugary. It reminds me of when I was younger, and our mom used to give us a little bowl of sugar with a stalk of rhubarb, and we thought we were in heaven. Okay, so that's ready to go. In the mixer, I've got 3/4 cup of butter. To that, I want to add my flours, my whole wheat flour, and my all-purpose flour, plus my spices. And there's a little bit of a twist to this. So we've got, that's 1/2 cup of whole wheat flour, and that is 1 cup of whole wheat flour. So same with the all-purpose. 1/2 cup of all-purpose and a second half, so that's 2 cups of flour into the bowl. And to that I want to add 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon right into the bowl. I want to add 1/4 of a teaspoon of nutmeg, and the same amount of nutmeg as, or also, no, that's cloves. Yeah, 1/4 teaspoon of cloves. And now I'm going to grate in some fresh nutmeg, and I want to also 1/4 cup of grated nutmeg. Same thing, 1/4 teaspoon, sorry. So lots of nutmeg. Plus, now I want a pinch more of cinnamon, of cloves, and of nutmeg. And I happen to have, so I'm just going to grate a bit more here for that. And I happen to have here my little measuring spoons, and this one says, believe it or not, a pinch. So I want a pinch more nutmeg, serious, cinnamon, and I've got the nutmeg, now the cloves. And that just adds a little bit more. So I'm going to just sift that into my bowl. And meanwhile, we are going to add to the butter that I've got in here my other 1/2 cup of flour. My other 1/2 cup of sugar. So 1/2 cup of sugar and the butter. So that's going in my bowl here while I sift this. Doesn't take very long, but you should really sift it to make sure you get all the lumps out. Once you see that you've got all the lumps out of your flour, then you're good. I just don't want any lumps in there, so that's great. Alright, so I've got my sugar and my butter in the bowl here. I have my spices, my flours in this bowl. And now I'm going to add my flour to the butter and the sugar. So that's going to give us this mixture that we are going to, we're going to save a cup of this for the top of the cake. So I'm going to let that work its way, and I want this to end up to be about pea size, or the mealy, it's called, mixture. So I'm just going to let that work its way. Now, I'm just going to scrape the bowl, because you definitely want to get the butter off the side of the bowl. Now, it's funny, we have a garden full of rhubarb in the back. And it's luscious, and I've used a lot of it, but unfortunately, I'm almost out of rhubarb. I've got a few very tender stalks, but generally I'm going to have to keep borrowing from the neighbors because I just love the taste of rhubarb. So when this gets to the right consistency, which is mealy, like small pea size, you want to save 1 cup for the very end, just before you put the cake in the oven. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So here is this mixture. Actually, I'll show you in the bowl. It's all crumbly, like pea size. That's exactly what you want. So I'm going to reserve that beautiful spicy for the top. All right. Meanwhile, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take an egg. We're going to crack 1 egg and mix that up with a fork. We're going to whisk that. I'm going to add that to 3/4 of a cup of sour milk. Now, these days, we don't have sour milk, do we? So I'm going to take 3/4 of a cup of milk, and to that I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and that gives your, so there's your time-saving tip for the day. So that gives you your 3/4 of a cup of sour milk. Now I'm going to whisk in the egg. Keep whisking that in so it's perfect. To the mixture here, you're going to add your baking soda, of course, your leavener. So I need 1 teaspoon of, where's my teaspoon? It's here somewhere. 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Here it is. And I would advise that you actually sift that in because there's always lumps. See that big lump? Do you see that? See that big lump of baking soda in there? You don't want that. So you got to crush that because that would taste awful if you got that in your mouth. So that's 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and you're going to stir that into the butter and the flour and the spices. So it's all mixed in. So that's perfect. So now you've got your egg and your sour cream, you've got your rhubarb ready to go. So now you'll notice that your rhubarb has turned a little bit wet because the sugar has started to break down the rhubarb, which is perfect. So now I'm going to add that to my flour mixture. So rhubarb and sugar goes in. Stir that around. Just mix it in so that it's all absorbed and it's now coated with the flour. Now, to that, we are going to put our egg mixture in a bowl. And I'm going to add my dry to the wet. And we just want to stir it well enough so that it's combined, but you don't want to stir it too much to overmix it, but you definitely want it combined. And oh my, the nutmeg and the cloves and the cinnamon together are just amazing. Now, don't panic because it looks kind of funny because of course I've got lots of rhubarb in there and I've got this whole wheat flour, which isn't usual in cakes, but we definitely want to stir it in. So this is the way it ends up looking like. This is actually perfect. See that? That's great. Now, here's a trick. This is my mom's favorite thing. Here's my cake pan, and this is one of those cake pans that the bottom comes out. Now here is the wrapper for my butter. So this is an old trick from my mom. You grease your pan with the paper for your butter. As a matter of fact, my mom keeps these papers in the fridge and uses them. I'm not sure if more than once, but she definitely has like a stack of them in her fridge. So well-greased pan. So in goes your batter to your well-greased pan. My rhubarb spice cake, which is delicious. And then on top of that, I'm just going to push this over a little bit. On top of that, remember the 1 cup you reserved? So now you sprinkle that on top. And this is going to be really delicious. So this goes in the oven, 350 degrees for 50 minutes. Takes a while, so that's ready to go. And when you finish baking the cake, you won't be able to barely get it out of the oven and people will be eating it, as is what happened to this cake. Now, if you notice, half of it's gone before I can even show it to you. I made this morning, and honestly, this is so delicious. Look at this cake. Isn't that wonderful? See the can you see the rhubarb in there in the bottom? Oh, it's just really, folks. Get yourself a cup of coffee, a nice cup of tea, and have some of this rhubarb spice cake. It's just delicious. Now this is a bit of an adaptation of a famous cake that my mum had years and years ago called a crumb cake. So I've kind of adapted it a bit, but the rhubarb is gorgeous in this. So thanks for watching Cooking Uncovered, and happy rhubarb cooking or baking, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.